Good morning and welcome to our Sunday or your Sunday edition of Breakfast Extra. Today, a simple, brief reflection on leadership, on dignity and accountability. This past week in the United States, President Donald Trump shared a controversial video that included racist imagery of former President Barack Obama and his wife, Michelle. The post was later deleted after backlash, but as usual, no apology, only an explanation. And that is the point that I'm trying to make today. The conduct of leaders matters, how they portray others, how they handle criticism, and whether they take responsibility when harm is caused, shape public trust and the tone of a national conversation. Let's bring it back to Nigeria, as we so ever do. Here in Nigeria, this actually feels quite familiar. We've seen moments where leaders deflect. We've seen them deny or, in fact, minimize public concerns. Whether this is around service failures, whether it's around security issues or even policy decisions, the instinct is often to defend first and reflect later. Now, different countries, of course, different realities, but the effect always the same. When leaders fail to show dignity or accountability, trust weakens. Citizens feel unheard. Institutions feel distant. Leadership should elevate people. I think that's quite clear, not dismiss them. It should steady a nation, not inflame it. And when mistakes happen, as they inevitably will and so often do, responsibility shouldn't feel like an attack. It should come before reputation. So as we start this Sunday, a simple reflection, because Sundays are for reflecting. Do our leaders inspire dignity? Do they inspire you and me? Do they take accountability when they are wrong? Do they serve the people or do they simply serve themselves? Because at its core, leadership isn't about power, it's about responsibility. That, ladies and gentlemen, is today's breakfast monologue. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Breakfast Extra. I'm not by myself, I'm always joined by, or I join him rather. Mazino, good morning.
No, I join you on this special day. Thank you very much, Inam, for stellar observation when it comes to leadership.
Thank you.
You're bold, by the way. Let me just say that. In any case, I think it's also a very big Nigerian problem. We've seen this happen, especially with very familiar figures in governance or sitting next to corridors of power. And today's show, we've got a lot of them that we'll be talking about, especially inside the strips, which I bet you're going to enjoy. So how about you come over? Let's start that conversation, shall we?
Alrighty.
And you're welcome. Good morning once again. This is Breakfast Extra Sunday edition here. My name is Mazino Appeal. Now, today's show, we're going to begin in Katsina State, where a peace deal with a bandit leader is already under pressure. Fresh attacks reported days after the agreement has raised serious questions about the credibility of negotiated peace and the safety of affected communities. Our correspondent Rukaya JBI actually went in, investigated what happened after the deal was announced and examines the security and legal implications of negotiating with armed groups. By the way, this was by the state, but we'll get to the details eventually. In Abuja, protests have followed allegations of certificate forgery against the Interior Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. Now, protesters say the issue goes beyond politics. It goes, well, public trust. The minister has denied the allegations. Our correspondent, Israel Ifirobo, tracked the protests and official responses, and he'll be joining us here to have that conversation. And in Enugu State, communal violence in Amasiri has forced residents to flee, while the curfew continued to disrupt daily life and livelihoods. Now, Chinwe Ogele reports from the area and will join us as well. And we talk sports today inside of Breakfast Extra. Attention shifts to the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations with questions about Nigeria's readiness and what the tournament could mean for women's football on the continent. And our sports desk will be here with the details. And we also have Focus Africa. Inam's very interested in this story. We'll be talking from the South African side of things, where concerns are growing over a judicial commission of inquiry and what it means for accountability and justice. It's a packed program here on Breakfast Extra. I'm here with, what's that name again? Madlanga?
Madlanga.
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 You tried.
Is it a place or is it a person's name exactly?
So it's not even a place. See, I don't want to lie before my South Africans denounce me. No,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'll do my research.
It's an interesting name, but the details behind the investigations, one person died, was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
I think 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
He actually killed himself,
It was a suicide.
Yes.
And there had been plenty of investigations into the disappearance and killings of
others
witnesses
of course,
in that case,
which he was one of. He was implicated in the trial, and an assassination attempt actually had taken place on his life, which was not successful. And then from there, I know that when that took place, the president had said, beef up security on witnesses or anybody that might be implicated in the commission and is still yet to testify. So whether you're a whistleblower, whatever the case may be, I don't know. Maybe he just felt like they tried and they failed, and they'll probably try again.
Yeah.
And he just decided.
It's a mental thing. Waiting to die cannot be very easy.
And the thing in essay, now.
Yeah.
Is what you gonna do when we come for you.
Exactly. And there's also the fact that whistleblowers are very scared now. Nobody wants to come out and testify because if you do testify, it's such a high-profile case at this point. It is,
Mazino. And I think reality is you're looking at what's happening and you feel like you are, you know how normally if you've watched like Narcos or Queen of the South, you would know that if they have made a decision to take you out, they're going to take you out. And I think the reality is no one in South Africa expected that. That's actually what happens in South Africa. Yes, South Africa, unfortunately, has been deemed as a country with crime, but I don't think people thought that it's to that degree where when a hit has been put on your life.
No. We didn't think it was another series of Narcos because that's what it's beginning to look like.
Yeah.
But ladies and gentlemen, tell you what we'll do. Let's actually begin the show in earnest now with our dailies. We'll do that sting and then we'll be bringing you the papers, front pages at least, for this morning. Welcome. It's time for the dailies, and this morning we'll be starting with the Sunday Telegraph. There isn't much of a page because, quite frankly, most of it is occupied. Yeah, you'll find out. There we go. So we'll just do the very top papers. The very top headlines there. Retired generals give ADC leaders Obi Kwankwaso mandate. And also we're unfazed by APC's 30 governors, say opposition. Let's move to our next paper real quick so that we will have maybe other iterations to the headlines we see here. The Tribune, you've got that now, don't you? Let me see, I think I do. The Tribune newspaper has this big headline here. Akpabio admits Senate removes real time from bill. Defense action says lawmakers yet to complete amendment process. Pass the bill. You can't decide for INEC. David Mark counters. Stakeholders kick insist removal of real time result transmission portends danger for democracy. I'll come back around and talk about this. At the top, 3 killed Catholic priests, 10 others abducted in Kaduna. And in true democracy, formidable opposition must be allowed to thrive, says Makinde. Oh, that's new to us, if you get what I mean. At the bottom here, UBA GMD advocates security bankable projects to drive Southeast Vision 2050, and betrayal is your portion if you support betrayers. Wike delivers warning from the gods to fellow politicians, and I guess he is the intercessor. He's Jesus. Sorry.
Good one, Masino.
That's especially on a Sunday morning. That's such sacrilege. I'm so sorry. Kayama massacre. Our attackers are teenagers. Teenagers survivors recount their ordeal. Northern CAN commiserates with victims, and we stand in solidarity with Kwara and Shetima. Let's get back to Akpabio and him admitting that Senate removed real time from bill. And he defends the action. Now, the thing about the electoral reform bill is many people argue that it's being used as an instrument to help solidify or consolidate power when it comes to a ruling class. I didn't say the ruling class, I said a ruling class. So, yeah, these little amendments, these people argue are just, what do you call these little fine tunes to help a process. Eventually, there must be one word for all of that.
But I mean, it's also a bit distracting, Mazino, if we can be honest. Every now and again, we're fine tuning certain things, and I think it's just and it's an indication to show that there's something broken. But you guys don't want to be clear about the fact that let's fix it all round. A little here, a little there, a little here, a little there.
Argument is that it might not even be broken, that they just want to keep it with loopholes open, just so it can be taken
to their advantage.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, these are all you know,
So
considerations, I wouldn't call it. We've got this day next, don't we?
Yes, we do.
All right, the This Day paper, let's go to This Day now, up on your screens, if I'm not mistaken right now. We've got this headline, Senate won't be intimidated, Akpabio tackles critics over Electoral Act. I'm sorry, I took your paper, it's yours.
It's all right. We go to the top there and we look at the FAAC that says governors demand evidence of presidential write-off of the NNPC's $1.42 billion, which is 5.5 trillion debt. That's in Naira. That's a big one, Mazino. And then right underneath there, it says National Oil firm requests more time on $4.2 billion alleged under remittance. And of course, the FAAC committee demands physical verification of the FEE projects. Right underneath the pictorial content, or let's start at the right rather. It says U.S. Congressman destabilizing Nigeria will embolden terrorism. Embolden terrorism. Yep. And then in bold, you read it for me over there. It says Senate won't be intimidated. Akpabio tackles critiques over Electoral Act. And then in yellow there, highlighted, it says lawmaking goes far beyond public sentiment, television debate, pressure from interest groups. And then INEC committed to deploying technology, Mupitan promises. And then, of course, we've got the pictorial focus right there. And then it says, we share in your grief. And then last at the bottom, you'll reap what you sow. Wike tells governors, senates, and other supporting betrayers.
I won't say it again. I won't repeat it. All right, we move on to the Nation newspaper yet again. There's not much space because most of it has been occupied. But at the top, you find these headlines here. Electoral Act, Akpabio slams critics. Jimo Ibrahim defends Senate. Next to that, Wike to detractors, your successors will betray you. That's how he speaks. I hope that's a good impression. And he says, he doesn't need governments to mobilize support for Tinubu. And finally, refineries, Nigeria was just wasting money. NNPCL boss Ojulari says. That will make very interesting read. You find that on page 5, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, on page 5. That's it for the dailies. We didn't have much choice because most of it has got this humongous picture of, celebrations. Congratulations to him. Now that we're done with the dailies, I believe this hour we do have the strips in one conversation, a very big story coming your way, big report coming your way, as we'll be talking to our correspondent across Nigeria. Do stay tuned. Let's get ready for our next segment. We'll be back.
You're welcome back. Now, allegations of certificate forgery against Nigeria's Interior Minister have escalated beyond social media claims into organized street protests. Demonstrators say this is no longer a partisan issue, but a test of integrity in a public office. At stake is not just the reputation of one minister, but the credibility of a system that demands qualifications from ordinary Nigerians while appealing slow to scrutiny those at the top. The central question this morning is clear. When serious allegations confront power, how does accountability actually work in Nigeria?
So our correspondent followed the protest from its early mobilization through to police engagements, examined the documents and also claims being circulated and tracking official reactions so far. This report lays out what is being alleged, what has been denied, and where critical questions remain unanswered. Here's our special report by Israel Iferoba.
Placards raised, chants filling the air. That was the scene in Lagos as youth and civil society groups protested allegations of certificate forgery against Interior Minister Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. The protesters alleged the minister gave conflicting information about his NYC records, a development they say undermines integrity in public office.
For months now, Ojo has been accused of certificate forgery, but now we never hear from him. He never come out to, clarify, to let the public know that what they are saying is right or wrong. And we have some people that have similar accusation who have left office, that they resigned.
So we want accountability and we want everybody to be treated equally. What is good for one is good for all. If they can resign other ministers for this kind of similar issue, of course I don't should still be in the office right now.
They warned that failure to address the issue could further weaken public trust in government institutions, particularly among young Nigerians.
I want a better Nigeria, and they say charity begins at home. So in this kind of a situation of Tunji-Ojo, if we allow such a thing to continue to happen like this, it will not only end there, but it will also escalate to the federal level.
The demonstrators insist the minister should step aside to allow for an independent investigation and to uphold accountability.
What is good for one is good for all. Many ministers have been forcefully removed from the office for similar case. You understand? So Tunji-Ojo's own will not be different. He should remove himself from the office, or the federal government should do the needful by doing thorough investigation on the allegation going on online.
As pressure mounts, attention is now on the federal government and its response to the protesters' demands. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Iferobo.
Well, if Israel Iferobo joins us now live, joining us via Zoom. Israel, good morning. Thank you very much for taking out your Sunday morning to join us here for Breakfast Extra. Israel, let's start with the core issues. What specific certificate was forged or alleged to have been forged? And what is the reaction from the Interior Minister himself, and what reactions have you gathered from the people?
It's all about the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo. And it's been brewing for quite some time now, a few months down the line. There are civil society organizations, youth in Nigeria, just all across, chanting this call for his resignation. Now, here's the thing. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, is asking, just to be one of those working ministers in this current administration, with the reforms that he's made, he's making in locking up passports, immigration and things like that. So yes, he's been working really hard to ensure that he does his bit, but the way it is here in Nigeria, once you start to make some kind of inroad, into uncharted territory, you have in quotes, political enemies, saying this and saying that. So that could be one of the issues there. So to answer one of the questions, what exactly is the certificate that is being alleged to have been forged right now? One of them is the NYSC certificate. It was mobilized in the year 2006. It was alleged to have absconded during that period. And then much later, he was remobilized in 2019. At the same time that he was remobilized in 2019, he was a serving member of the House of Representatives. So there are questions about can he be a serving member of the House of Representatives and also still running the NYC program at the same time. So the question is, how were you mobilized in 2006 and then all the way down to 2019? That was where you eventually were remobilized and then you have the certificate. Now, for the NYSC, they've come out to say, yes, indeed, what he has is authentic. So, but indeed, there are some people, some sections of the country are not agreeing to this explanation from the NYSC. Though they said his certificate is in order, but the youths and those that were protesting just this week, they are not having any of that. So yes, he hasn't said anything, which is why the call for his resignation are going louder by the day, because he himself, he hasn't said anything publicly as regards this certificate that has been alleged to have been forged by him,
To know who organized, if we know rather, who organized these protests. And what does this tell us about how widespread or coordinated this grievance is?
So this youth in Lagos, civil society, all saying that what they want is for an independent probe into all of these allegations. Now, they are saying that that he's not guilty right now of anything, but they want him to step aside so that the federal government, the DSS, and those in authority can go ahead and conduct an investigation into these allegations. So yes, that's just the crux of the matter. They want him to step aside and allow for the federal government to investigate properly into into what exactly is going on.
That's on the side of the protests and the protesters and the grievances. However, what about the authorities, the federal government or the presidency? Have they reacted to it? What have they come out to tell? Have they said that they are going to explain in detail how come this is how it is, or are they going into an investigation? What's their response?
There is no sort of response from the federal government. But the only response that was gotten is that from the NYC, which is also, part of the government. That is where the youth, who are protesting were coming from. That the only response that they got was from the NYC. And they also did not understand that, because one of the questions that has come up in this time frame is the fact that do public service holders require an NYC certificate to serve as a minister? That is another question. Because in time past, we have the issue of the Minister of Science and Technology, he was also immersed in this sort of a controversy as well. And the former Minister of Finance as well, Kenya was also part of this. And in her case, he added to the case report, and that was when the court now stated that indeed and in truth, to serve as a minister, you really do not need an NYC certificate to serve as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So that is also another context that maybe these youth are not looking at as a stance. So yes, indeed, no response so far from the government. The no response that was gotten so far is from the NYC, who have come out to say that his certificate was not forged allegedly by the youth, that his certificate is right, it's true. But the consulate, he was mobilized in 2006. But eventually left the service way back in 2020, much later in 2019, 2022. What exactly happened between that period? Because for these protesters and for these youth, what they are saying right now is this: if this was a case of an ordinary Nigerian, are we going to have it this good? Are they going to have it this good? We are mobilized in 2006 and then you are funded. I mean, we've been through the system. So when something like that happens, you know that you will have maybe an extension, or you will just lose it eventually. So they're saying what is good for the good is good for the gander. So they really just want a thorough investigation into all of these allegations, and for the federal government to make it clear for transparency and accountability sake. But the court previously have ruled on similar matter that for you to serve as the minister here in Nigeria, you really do not need an NYC certificate,
Chef, for not just bringing this to our attention, but giving us such a thorough report and feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Israel. Let's let you get back to your Sunday morning. Are you at church? You're at church? No, you're pagan. Okay, that's good. No problem.
Mazito is just so blunt.
Thank you,
blunt.
Israel. Thank you very much, Israel. Goodbye now. Let's get ready for our next conversation here inside of Breakfast Extra.
In our big report this morning, we are in the Amasiri community in Enugu State, where violence has emptied homes, disrupted livelihood, and pushed families into survival mode. Communal clashes have left residents fleeing, while a government-imposed curfew meant to restore order has also frozen economic and social life. This story is not only about how violence begins, but about how people live in the shadows long after the fighting stops.
Now, our correspondent went into affected areas, spoke with displaced residents, local leaders, and also security forces, and documented how daily life has been altered by both fear and restriction. Now, this report focuses on the human cost behind the headlines. Here's that special report by Chinwe Ogele.
These are people's homes in Okporoja Idima Autonomous Community in Ebonyi State. Before the evening of 29th January 2026, when trouble struck, these houses were habitable. The attackers did not only destroy their homes, they also snuffed out the lives of some of their kinsmen.
They invaded and started shooting. As they shooting, they even killed 5 and beheaded them lifelessly here.
The people allege that the neighboring community, Amasiri, in Afikpo North Local Government Area, carried out the attacks over land disputes with them.
that every time they used to say that we are living in their place. They are fighting one way or the other to make sure we are out of this place.
They have an agenda of displacing this place entirely, not even a boundary is the issue. They claim that they are owner of this place, which our forefathers has been here before us presently now. So what they are insinuating is that we should pack us from this place, and this place belongs to them.
The attackers also touched a church in the community.
In no account should somebody attack a church, and this is the second time they're attacking this church. They break down the thing, they burn, there are 2003, they burnt it down as well. By His grace, we repaired it, and they repeated it again. I can't tell why they're attacking church.
According to them, the decades of disagreement over land would have long been settled if the state government's intervention were heeded too.
There was a day we went to Abakaliki, governor invited us to come and sign memorandum of understanding, which both of us went. The people of Amasiri and people of Eda went together and signed that memorandum of understanding for them to come and do the boundary demarcation.
The governor have already said that when the issue started on April, on 5th April 2025, the governor invited both Oborojo and the Amasiri people. After that, he said that he's going to give a demarcation, land demarcation, that everybody should hold on to dry season.
There are claims that the reason for the incessant fights and attacks is due to the claim by Amasiri community that the land on which Oporojai Dima community occupies belongs to them.
That place is Amasiri land. Even if you go to Akai, Abuja, you see it's Amasiri land. It's in Akai. So now I want government to settle the matter so that people are suffering too much.
The government's immediate action was to shut down Amasiri and deny them representation in government, dethroning traditional rulers, sacking government appointees, and imposing a curfew in Amasiri.
With schools shut, markets closed, businesses grounded, everywhere in Amasiri community has become a shadow of its old self. Now the residents of this community are appealing to the Ebonyi State Governor to temper justice with mercy and lift the curfew on this very community.
Nowhere to go out, nowhere to go out, nowhere to even buy something, to even feed is difficult. To get water, you hardly get water. All these children, these little children, if they keeping us hostage, how will we train our children? How will we take care of them? Everybody, so if you see how you run out, you run out. You hardly go out.
The government action is too much because the children are no more going to school. Even the children that are going to school, the army people offload them. Any person, they are leaders of tomorrow. If they don't go to school, even to get Gary for drink, it's a problem to us. Because other places we have seen all this coffin, 6 to 6. 6 you go on bed, 6 you go your work, but this one is 10 to 2. We're working hour. How do you get our food?
With claims that there is a mineral deposit in the disputed land, it's uncertain which side may want to give up the fight. While the police watch over Oporojai Dima to forestall a possible repeat of the attack, the military patrols Amasiri, enforcing curfew and ensuring there's no further breakdown of law and order.
Even though the Ebonyi State government has taken action against the people linked to have perpetrated the act, the people still live in fear.
A special report there by Chinwe Ogele, who joins us live now to talk about the details of that report. Chinwe, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Chinwe, I'm trying to not actually get upset as I was watching your package, but before we go into, deeper questions, can you just give us a bit of an understanding of what the experience has been like for you thus far?
It's been quite draining because going to community, hearing the people, their concerns, is a lot. And to think that it's about 10 kilometers between both communities, I mean, you don't even want to start guessing why they would be fighting over some pieces land. So it's been challenging, draining, confusing now because you're trying to wrap the whole stories around my head to figure out where the problem starts because it's not the first issue.
And I mean, it's always going to be about the people. I mean, we saw some of the debris in the package that you had shared. I'm curious to find out, in terms of the people, how is this affecting the people? I know you mentioned the curfews, which I want us to get into later, but the people, what's the immediate response and trigger for them right now?
Well, it depends on the vibe talking about, because the people that are involved are those from Oroja community who were attacked, and the people from Amasiri communities who allegedly, did the attack. For them from Dima, is about the loss of lives and property. It's not the first time it's happening. It is so many decades of warring, between these communities. And I know using the word war is even so crazy because they are all ambushed. They never prepared for it, and they will always be attacked. Their homes destroyed, they'll be displaced. And where they are occupying presently, you may know, was not the original place. They told me a place here they were occupying initially, but some years back, the same community attacked them and forced them to move further down to where they are. So like you heard them say, people want to defeat them completely because they claim ownership of the place, but that is the government will come in.
Chinwe, I want to know exactly what the trigger is. What's the detail behind the attacks? Why are they being attacked? These two communities, for how long have they been in conflict? And then maybe after that we can get to talk about the curfew, but what exactly is at the bottom of the attacks between these communities?
Okay, my findings, I got to learn that there is actually mineral deposit in this land. And that's why the committee is the state that the people who are occupying, because you look at both communities from every bit of it, the actual community is more better than Oroja community. So when they have more people that are more playing government and business and all of that. So they're saying that the people are occupying and taking Oroja are not the real owner, the land belongs to them. Then also you have to know that Oroja is in Edda local government area, whereas Amasiri is the Afikpo local government area. So I don't know how they want to explain it, because the land that is being struggled for, part of it belongs to the part of it belongs to Amasiri. So that is this is where the gun comes in. So what triggers the problem basically is because it's on time there is depth as the state in that area. So they push these people are able to use the land forever.
Chinwe, we're going to do something unusual because we couldn't hear anything you said. Chinwe, I'm going to ask that you turn off the video and respond to that question again. Maybe the audio would be clearer. So go ahead and put out the video and please respond again to the question, what exactly is at the bottom of the conflict between the two communities? Let's have your audio only. Hopefully it will be clearer this time.
Okay. So the main issue with between both communities is the claim or the realization that there is a mineral deposit in the disputed land. Now, the Amasiri community is claiming that the people who are occupying the land are illegally occupants of that property, that the property belongs to them. Meanwhile, Oroja community is in Edda local government area, whereas Amasiri community is in Afikpo North local government area. So somehow, the land in question, part of it belongs to Oroja, part of it belongs to Amasiri. So this is where the government will come in to actually do the proper demarcation of the boundary to stop all these fights. But the major problem here is that there is mineral deposits in the land, and then which side gets that part that has the mineral deposit is what we do not know. But then the more these people attack the Oroja community, the further they drive them out of where they claim belongs to them, And then if government doesn't do anything anytime soon, there will be no place for them again to go, because right now they have been moved to the edge of that very community.
That was very
I hope you heard me.
That was very clear, Chinwe. Thank you very much. So apparently they've been moved so much. Where they are now is a last resort, but they're still being, they're still in turmoil because they're still being fought with by the other communities. And this is over minerals, you say. And it's spread across 2 different local government areas. The government needs to step in now. Has there been any response from the government, even at the local government level?
And the governor visited the community and issued some sanctions where he sacked every appointee from that Amasiri community, because he believed that they were privy to the act and dethroned the traditional ruler of the community, and also, closed down schools. Everything in Amasiri is affected. But ever since, nothing else has been heard, and the people of Amasiri are also requesting that the governor revisit those sanctions and penalties, so that their people will be able to breathe, because as it were, people are already leaving the community because the curfew is so much, as they say, 20 hours curfew a day. That's the whole day, and the few hours they have to move around, they are still scared to open their shops and do anything. So that's all we learn from the government right now.
So then, Chinwe, I think let's move to the curfew, because I mean you've answered quite a bit right there. What exactly is the curfew supposed to do? I know that it's been said that the intention of the curfew is to restore calm, but if it is a somewhat government-initiated displacement, or whatever you would call it, what exactly is the curfew supposed to achieve for the residents that have been displaced?
Well, to my mind, because there's no crisis in Amasiri. There wasn't any crisis in Amasiri even before the imposition of curfew. But I think what the government tried to achieve there was to, punish them for their wrongdoing. Take action to say you're going to suffer for what you did to these people. I do not know yet if any arrests have been made, with regards to the lives that were lost in Okoroja community. And they also complained of a missing person. They said one of them is still missing from the attack of that day. So government obviously tried to say, okay, since you people could, because government already started intervention when they invited them to Abakaliki, that's the state capital, for signing of MOU to say every party should wait until we come out with a final solution to the problem. So the government feels that is a slap on its face for the Amasiri people not to hold on as they had instructed. So that was why the governor himself visited the place and he said that he had been pushed to the wall, and so he took the action. It's just more like punishing the people, but then whether the punishment is enough or whether that is what is needed at this time, I do not know. Because over time, even before the coming of Francis Nwifuru as governor, other governors had this same issue with the Amasiri people and that community. Until date, nothing tangible has come out of it. So hopefully, with what has happened now, there will be a lasting solution to the conflict.
Well, hopefully there will be lasting solution, but then again, we do hope that the curfew doesn't continue to affect the lives of people, because 4 hours is not enough to do much in any instance. I mean, Chinwe, thank you. Conflict does not only kill, it actually dislocates and it impoverishes people even further. It also erodes trust in the government. We hope that this is looked into. Thank you very much for bringing us these voices here on your report. We'll continue to look at the situation as it continues to progress. Thank you. Now let's stay tuned. We've got another conversation coming your way after this break. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's do the strips for a Sunday. Of course, not alone. Inam Maso will be joining me. It's the M&M show. Yay. So Inam, we've got very interesting strips. Very detailed, very deep meaning scripts for today from last week. If you're just joining us, every single week we put a compilation together of all the newspaper editorial cartoons that caught our fancy and we try and explain them here. Not that you don't get it, it's just fun to do. Let's start with our very first strip this morning here inside of Breakfast Extra. If you will please, producers, let's have it on the screen. So our very first strip is it came in the form of, somebody decided to pass this through AI, I think, to make it animate. But here we have a very interesting instance of what governance in Nigeria is, especially for the governors who, their retirement plan or process always includes a seat at the Senate every single time. Is this necessary? Is this okay? Inam, you had a monologue last week, if I'm not mistaken, where you compared what it was like in Uganda with Museveni becoming president again for over 4 decades. And the Nigerian instance, do you remember? And do you remember how you equated both instances? I don't know. Would you like to tell?
I mean, I do remember. And I think one of the key things to note was the musical chairs that we find as a similar pattern in Senate in Nigeria as well as in governance in Uganda. It's nothing new. It's always just the same faces. And I think when we look at Senate in Nigeria, it's literally one of the same things. In South Africa, we say it's 6 and 9, just that the other one is shaped in a different way. So, yeah.
Exactly. In Nigeria, the case is this. It's not that we have the same face in the same place all the time. Is that it's often that what you just called musical chairs. These people are revolving around the corridors of power. For most governors, they think that their retirement must include a seat at the Senate because that seems like career progression. It's, hey, self-sustaining for them. It's a way to continue their longevity. But how does it work for governance itself? And also the perception by the people. It's like as if you're consolidating power, especially if you belong to one specific party. You can imagine how that's going to affect decisions inside of the Senate. So the ruling powers will often take advantage of this and say, fine, if you're governor here, maybe we can find a place or space for you inside of the Senate after. After all, that's where the decisions are made. And that's responsible for why people consider the Senate these days a rubber stamp institution, because it's like the ends of the strings when it comes to the puppeteer.
Right.
You're doing our bidding, whether you like it or not. How does that work for democracy? Not much. You see the case in Uganda, it's kind of like the same thing. When people know their way around institutions, they know how to use the back doors. However, there are cases that support that it might be a good thing. They say if you were once a governor, making decisions at the Senate becomes, well, practical because you know exactly what the people want and the language that they speak. So that seems like the next step for most governors and should be encouraged. But the people disagree. They say there's no fair opportunity for new voices if this is going to be the case, especially the youth camp. Because if you say we're not too young to run, come out for there so that we can enter now. But nope. They just want to secure their retirement.
But I think that's literally just an African problem, though, Mazino. We tend to promote innovation and we say that the youth is the future. But when it's time for the youth to introduce the future, everyone is like, no, you're too futuristic for us. This is what works. So let's keep it like this. And it's an unfortunate situation.
Indeed, it is. But it's a reality. But let's move on to our next strip today. Now, our next strip is Father, Daughter, Dad. The Senate has rejected mandatory electronic transmission of results. We talked about this yesterday. My dear, if it uploads instantly, how will miracles happen now? I like this. This is Bulama from Daily Trust. Bulama always uses this dialogue, father and daughter. It's a question-answer type of thing. And he reflects exactly what conversations have been from all through the week. Last week, plenty of talk about the electoral reforms and how the Senate rejected e-transmission. We talked about this yesterday, didn't we, Inam? And of course, this is the position of most Nigerians. They're saying, yes, because people want to tamper with these results. If you upload it immediately, then there isn't any opportunity. But that's what people are fighting for. Senate, however, said that's not what we meant. We said either or. That word or there, if there's an alternative, yes, we'd rather that. But we're not displacing it entirely. We're not saying no e-transmission. We're just saying that, hey, there's no infrastructure, which is a case that they've made that seems to make sense. If you don't have infrastructure, like internet, for instance, how are you going to transmit these things?
That's the problem.
That's a big question. So it's a catch-22 kind of situation, if you know what I mean. But good one, Bulama, we liked it. Let's do the other strip for today. Another one. We've got quite a number of them. We hope that we can finish them before the time runs out. Guys, come on. Let's go. Another one. Grand. Let's take a look at this from Business Day. Okwara did a very good one here. It's, Inam, this is going to interest you. Let's start with the word bubble there. Is he licking his own vomits? This here, person in purple, seems to be a depiction for Reno Omokri, who is an ambassador right now. He made the nominations list in November, and he was quickly accredited, like, go. We know you. Inam, what you don't know is that only just in 2023, during the elections, or just before the elections, he put out a video. Now, in this video, he actually described the sitting president as a criminal, as a drug lord, actually. Now he's an ambassador, and he's been given an ambassadorial position as a non-career diplomat, and it seems that he's no longer even bothered about anything that he said from before. In fact, he did come out to say, he ate his own words. He said that whatever he said from before was because of a lack of information and has been superseded by court decisions and many other things, so that no longer matters. He's comfortable now with the current state of things. This only came to light because of one court instance where Omoyele Sowore has been charged to court for cyberbullying of the president himself, where he called the president a criminal, and he referred to Reno Omokri's video as evidence. His argument, very interesting. When Reno Omokri said it, you did not arrest him, take him to court or anything. Now I'm saying exactly what he said, and I'm the one who's being charged to court. So you see the drama here? Do you see that, Inam?
I do.
Very interesting. One picture, a million notes
words
to take. I don't know if you have any similar instances like this from South Africa.
No.
None? Nigeria was special.
If I say no, I'll say none that have literally been put out there. But the musical chair thing is something that we see in Parliament as well in South Africa, where at one point this one was Minister of Police, then cabinet is reshuffled, and then now he's the Minister of Tourism or whatever. So
it's also the double speak.
Yep, we've had that quite a bit. And sometimes you look at the competencies and efficacy levels, and you're just like, police, education. I'm trying to understand how you can be minister of both. But unfortunately, taking a look at this specific art, the thing that you said, Mazino, about eating your words is, especially if I will eat them, but pacify me, help me swallow the words that I'm eating. That's literally what it is. And they've pacified him. So he doesn't even care if he, I'll use the word act a fool publicly, because they've pacified him and he's okay.
Hey, there's a saying a friend of mine used to say, call me an idiot, but pay me my money.
Exactly. In women terms, it's I'd rather cry in a Lamborghini than on a bicycle, So.
Hey, hey, in a PJ, a private jet.
Oh, you did not.
Since South Africans are very used to flying 30,000 feet above the sky. I'm coming
for you.
I know what I've just done. I know. I'm in trouble now. Let's talk about bad governance in Nigeria. You heard about the unfortunate case of Ifunanya. We talked about that. Oh, we're talking about that. No, we talked about that yesterday. The girl who died from a snake bite. Very unfortunate, but that has raised plenty of social critique when it comes to bad governance. Bad governance, how do we get there? Well, bad policies when it comes to health. Because, for goodness sake, why on earth would our hospitals not be stacked with antivenom in a 100%. Country that has recorded plenty of snake bites, at least 2,000 every single year? Why don't we have antivenom? It's bad policy making. It's lack of attention when it comes to the health facilities and the health sector generally. And people are like, where do we go from here? Who are we going? Let's go and ask the Senate. When somebody's like, no, don't. Very poisonous. Do not run to the National Assembly. They have no antivenom. Because the fact is they really don't care, is what the argument is here about the ordinary man. And that's why the health sector isn't getting any attention, any funding, no infrastructure, no antivenom. Where do Nigerians go when it comes to bad governance? I do not have the answers. But then again, it's in your hands at the end of the day. We'll have to wait till next year for 2027 to make better decisions when it comes to the elections. If you want to have anti-venom, then start locally. Who is my local government chairman? And how does that translate my needs and grievances to the top, the presidency? Will they represent me well? Or am I simply just voting because his mother and my mother were friends? Or he speaks the same language? Or I like the way he wears his hat? Or what kind of hat specifically he wears? If you know what I mean. No, you wouldn't. The producers are telling us that we have to go because we have hit the mark for the top of the hour. Unfortunately, there was one strip I wanted to get to, and it's the one of the South African and Oshiomhole. You've been saved by the bell, Inam, because that
I was ready to defend it.
I beg.
Analyzed If the producers would, I was ready for defense for that. I analyzed it to the core.
The producers have to allow us come back to that strip after. It's of Oshomole and the South African lady inside of the plane. Right there. Inam, your concern was?
So first of all, Mazino, outside of the fact that what happened, happened, if you look at that strip correctly, there's a lot of criticism that goes to the man than the woman. First of all, let's talk about the height. When we're talking about graphics, the height thing gives us a lot of information. What is making him a man is the money that he's standing on top of.
Ooh.
Yes. Yes, sir. So I don't necessarily feel like there was a problem with her. Yes, like you said it boldly in your monologue, that she is very bold about what it is that she does. But the reality is that in her eyes, that man is a man because of the money that he is standing on. Nothing more, nothing less. And that's just the problem. Money talks.
Hey, money talks and BS walks. Nice, interesting. I don't think I'll say much because we have the news. Maybe after the news, I'll come to you for a conversation about this, and maybe the producers will let us recall it then.
Alrighty.
But let's do the news. Let's do the news.
You're welcome back, and we take you to the news, where today we begin with international relations, where King Charles III will host Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on a state visit to Britain on the 18th and 19th of March. President Tinubu and his wife Oluremi Tinubu will be received at Windsor Castle by the monarch as well as the Queen Camilla. The visit comes as London and Abuja continue to strengthen their strategic partnerships, focusing on economic, immigration, and security cooperations. The two countries have also previously signed agreements on economic and defense cooperations, highlighting Nigeria's role as a key partner within the Commonwealth. Now, in the meantime, the United States Congress has raised concerns over Nigeria's $9 million lobbying contract with Washington, warning that it may downplay serious human rights and religious freedom violations. During a joint hearing of House subcommittees on Africa and the subcommittee on the Western Hemisphere on global religious freedoms, lawmakers discussed Nigeria's designation as the country of particular concern under the International Regulations or Religious Freedom Act. Lawmakers also highlighted cuts in U.S. foreign assistance, including programs supporting faith leaders and conflict-affected communities. Two legislative matters. The Senate Committee on Finance has thrown his weight behind President Bola Tinubu's unveiling of Nigeria's national halal community strategy, economic strategy as well. The committee hailed it as a bold and strategic move to position the country within the lucrative global halal market, estimated at $7.7 trillion. In a statement on Saturday, committee chairman Sani Musa highlighted how countries like the United Kingdom, Malaysia, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates have successfully used halal frameworks to grow exports and attract foreign investment. The move reflects Nigeria's push to position itself as a key player in the lucrative global halal economy. And now we take you to security matters, where confusion and conflicting reports have shadowed the security situation in Kwande local government area, following initial claims of a fresh attack on the Anwase community in Turan ward. In a significant development, E.B. Andrews, a purposed aide to the Kwande local government chairman, who was earlier cited as confirming the incident, has now formally distanced himself from the reports. Speaking exclusively to News Central via a telephonic discussion from Makurdi, Mr. Andrew clarified that he was quoted out of context. He urged the public and the media to disregard reports suggesting a new massacre in Awase in their totality, describing the information as misleading and unverified.
TV contacted me about the incident in Jatoka, and I told them that I was in no in no position to give a report about that. So I told them I was going to contact the chairman of Kwande local government, who is also the Argon chairman, Benue State, to see if he can have a meeting or a media interaction where he can be able to give a detailed report of what went on in that community. I want to distance myself with the report that is being given by Channels Television. I am in no capacity, in no position to say a word or to make a statement on what happened in that community. Thank you very much.
And now we head on to political matters, where the Kano State House of Assembly has denied reports suggesting moves to impeach Deputy Governor Aminu Abdul Salam Gwarzo. The Assembly's public relations officer, Kamudalina Shawai, dismissed the claims while speaking to journalists in Kano on Saturday, describing the reports as baseless and misleading. Shawai said there is no plan underway to remove the deputy governor, adding that the reports were aimed at creating unnecessary political tensions within the state. He also urged the public as well as the media organizations to verify information before publication, stressing that accurate reporting is essential to maintaining political stability in Kano State. Now, outside of Nigeria, Moroccan Prime Minister Aziz Akonouch has announced he will not seek another term in the head of his political party, effectively ruling out his return as Prime Minister after this year's elections. The Prime Minister made the announcement on Saturday at a rally of his National Rally of Independence, or RNI, a party in the coastal city of El Jadida, calling the decision serious and deeply thought through. Akonouch has led the government since 2021, but has faced growing public pressure, including calls to resign from a Gen Z-led protest movement demanding reforms in the health as well as the education sector. Now, elsewhere, and by elsewhere I mean South Africa, South Africa will withdraw its troops from the United Nations peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The presidency announced this on Saturday, saying around 700 South African soldiers will be pulled out of the UN mission known as the MONUSCO already, or after nearly 3 decades of deployment in the region. President Cyril Ramaphosa has formally informed United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres of the decision. Now, according to the presidency, the decision reflects the need to realign and consolidate resources within the South Africa National Defense Force after 27 years of peacekeeping operations in the DRC. And that's all we bring you at this hour for the news. But let's go on a quick break. And when we do return, we bring you more right here on Breakfast Extra.
Welcome, second hour here, Breakfast Extra. And this is our second big report. In Katsina, a state battered by years of bandit violence, the government chose dialogue over force. A peace agreement was reached with a notorious bandit leader, a man blamed for kidnappings, killings, and also displacement of entire communities. The logic was simple. End the violence, restore farming, let people sleep again. But within days of that agreement, more than 20 people were reportedly killed in fresh attacks.
So this morning, we are asking a hard question, but a necessary question. When peace is negotiated with violence, who protects the people if the peace collapses? To answer that question, our correspondent went beyond official statements. She spoke with residents living in fear, examined the terms of the deal, and tackled what changed and what did not after the agreement was signed. Rukia Jibia brings us an on-ground level look at a peace pact already under strain. Here now is our special report by Rukia Jibia.
Until last year, Audulangai was a name that spread fear, a bandit leader, a kingpin or kachalla in the local parlance, with thousands of fighters under his command across the deadly front lines of Katsina. But something changed. Through a community-led initiative, the Jibia Peace Forum struck a deal with Langai and his men. The terms? His group will stop attacking and terrorizing the people of Jibia, and also release kidnapped victims. In return, Langai demanded infrastructure like water, schools, and the release of their relatives from prison. Demands that sparked public backlash. Against all odds, for nearly a year, the deal held. Surajo Agaji is chairman of the Jibia Peace Forum.
Jiya Allah ya jarabi mutanen karamar hukumar Jibia, kusan abokan adawa shi cikin hilanin suna jin haushin irin kokarin da yake da haɗin kai da yake badawa. Su ne suka zo suka yaudare shi, suka kira shi wani taro wanda abin da ya faru kuma shine ya faru.
The protector had become a hostage. The news sent waves of fear and grief through Jibia. This was not the reaction one might expect from a bandit leader. But in these communities, Langai's transformation had redefined him.
Bandi balahin da ya da baya. Ni yanzu an ake alina ina cewa dan aljanna ne. Audu officer ya ba mu gudunmuwa 100%. Kai ina ya ce ma ta koma 1000%. Wallahi dole duk wanda ke jibe local government da ba tsare local government dole ya ji haushi ko kuma ya ji zahin wannan labari da ya ji.
Audu explains the one term Lankai did not fulfill, surrendering his weapons. His reason? For protection against rival bands from neighboring Zamfara and Niger.
Kuma ya faɗi hujjar shi na cewa bai ya aji makaman nan ba don komai ba saboda cikin sharaɗin da muka ga mashi ka haɗa kai da shi a zo a yaƙe mu. Amma an makami dama ba tsoron kowa ba tsoron su ake ba makaman nan ake tsoro. Ma dama suka aje wani makaman waɗanda ba su yi da aka sulhu ba kamar wanda makwabta namu na Zamfara da sauransu kayan su safaran su yi abanga kaga sun san cewa ofisa da shi da yan shi kamar ka shiga akulki ne ka kamo kaza akwai wani dubar zata.
The anxiety over his capture by a non-notorious bandit kingpin, Bello Turiji, was palpable on the streets of Mallamawa and Chipia.
Tsakani ga Allah muna cikin tashin hankali saboda an riga an ɗauke mana jagora wanda muna jin daɗin rayuwa da shi. Saboda ɗaukar da aka yi mai gaba ɗaya yankin nan maza da mata yara da manya lokacin da labarin ya zo mana kuka muke yi.
Ba ɗan ƙaramin yanayi ba yara ƙanana da manya wasu mata haka ma da ƙananan yara kuwa ta masa yawa wasu kuma ma kuka dai kawai suke yi.
Then, a twist. Contrary to rumors of his death, Audu Lankai was freed. He returned to his community, where he was greeted not as a captive, but as a returning hero and savior.
Da wanda sun ka taya mu murna duk kowane da kowane Allah saka mashi da alheri ina ma kowa fatan alheri da ubangiji Allah ya saka ma kowa kai ne jama'a
me yasa mutane suke son ka
a wannan kuma ko ba ne zaki wa wannan tambaya
daga taron mutane
This report lays bare a complex reality. In the absence of total state security, communities are making painful, morally ambiguous pacts with their former tormentors. Audu Lankai is both a former criminal and a current security guarantor. His abduction exposed the fragility of community-led peace deals built on the influence of one man. It raises difficult questions. Can peace be sustained through a pact with an armed group? What happens when the guarantor is gone, and what is the long-term price of such a bargain? In Katsina, for News Central, Rukaya Jibia.
Rukaya Jibia joins us live now, and we're going to have this conversation. First off, Rukaya, thank you very much. That was a very interesting report there. It left me dizzy, to say the truth, because I can't wrap my head around what I heard you cover there. But first off, I was also confused. Rukaya Jibia, and this local government is Jibia local government. Is there any relations here?
I'm actually from Jibia.
Oh, wow. There we go. But now let's get to the matter. I was very confused to see a community celebrate someone who we would regard as a criminal. But in this case, it seems like as if they were very happy to have this man back from captivity. I'm wondering what kind of peace arrangement here exists in this community. We talked about this last week, but we yet couldn't understand how come the state would actually make such an agreement. But with the visuals that you brought us, we could see from the state of the people themselves that it's something they're very comfortable with. Please, once again, give us a roundabout understanding of what's happening in this local government.
Mazino, I can tell you that all this is very confusing, even for myself. I spent like 6 days in that community. And when I went there, I went to interview Audu, and I had the news about his death first. The people of the community, I can say, they were very angry about his death when they heard about his death. So fortunately, or unfortunately, but fortunately, he was not killed. He he was not killed by Bello Turiji, but he was abducted by Bello Turiji. So when we heard that he was not killed, the people were at least relieved, you know, and I was confused because I know this person to be a very notorious bandit. Like I said in my report, Audulankai, when you mention the name Audulankai, it's just fear. Like, then I was confused. Why are they worried because this person is captured? So, you know, the government have been denying, that they are not the one that signed peace agreement with the bandits, blah, blah, blah. So I went to meet Suraju Abeji, who is the chairman of the GBA Peace Forum. And I spoke to him. I was asking him, why are the people angry over the capture of a known notorious bandit? And he explained the terms to me. He said they struck a deal with Audulankai last year, and I was there when they did the peace deal. And since that peace deal, GBA have been living in total peace.
Oh.
No killings, no kidnap, nothing. So they are just living in peace. So Audulankai kept to the end of his bargain. And he didn't stop there. You know, he prevented the neighboring bandit kingpins from entering Jibia and Bazari to operate. And that was the reason for his capture. Because he denied them access when they stole their cows from neighboring Zamfara and Niger. So I now understood that, okay, so these people are now seeing this person as a savior, as somebody who brought peace to them. What the government failed to do, this person did it to them. And I went to his hometown. Malamawa is where he resides. And I can tell you that by traveling to that community alone, I wasn't that scared, but my cameraman, Abdul Basid, was scared to hell. Because that place is scary. And we traveled to Malamawa. I am telling you, I saw those people, the bandits, like, let's say 200, 300 of them. They were everywhere. They were at alert, waiting for maybe just the slightest thing to happen for them to retaliate. And we went there and we were asking them. First, we were asking the people of the community, why are you so sad? They said they couldn't eat. I'm telling you, even the market was closed. They were not selling anything. They were in mourning. And I was asking them. They said last year, they couldn't even sleep peacefully in their community. It was attack, it was killing, kidnapping. They couldn't go to their farms. They said, but since that peace agreement and since when Audu promised to protect them, they have been living in absolute peace. So that is the reason behind all the crowd you saw in my report, because we couldn't even reach him. I'm telling you, Mazina, because the crowd was everywhere. The town was full. Cars, bikes, bandits. I think, I won't even say 100, thousands of them from different local governments coming to greet him. So I'm telling you that person is a celebrity bandit.
Oh, wow. Rukaya, I want to have a conversation here with Inam, because this is really, it's very confusing, but to see that, Inam, to see that the community is actually very comfortable. And Rukaya had also noted that she traveled to his position, his location, and you were very scared. I'm wondering exactly how I would feel in that kind of a situation. I don't blame the cameraman for being scared. I don't know how you would feel, especially if you know that this is not my comfort zone. Rukaya might not have been scared because she's from that area, but I can't imagine what I would go through.
I probably wouldn't go.
You would?
I think maybe in the spirit of fearless reporting, you will go. You have to exercise that spirit. But like you said, Mazino, Rukaya may not be afraid. Others in the community may not be afraid because at the end of the day, they're benefiting. I dare to say it, and again, in the spirit of fearless reporting, it's giving, in Gen Z terms, is giving bin Laden. You get what I'm trying to say? It's definitely giving that, because we as the people know what this man is capable of, but we don't fear him because everything that he's doing is to our benefit. We know that he's got his own skeletons in the closet, but there's that knowing that says he's not going to harm us. And I mean, based on Rukia's reports, they see that. The man is doing what the government failed to do. I'm not going to go there because you ain't protecting me, you know? And it's you know,
it's a scary situation. It's a scary situation. Rukaya, how did you feel in the midst of all these bandits when you went for that interview? Can you give us a sense of the ambience, the aura that he left you with? Did you feel safe?
No, I wasn't safe.
Why?
To be honest, because I know what this person is capable of. And how can I be safe? Yes, I'm from Jibia, but I can say this is the third time, maybe fourth time traveling to Jibia. I was born in Kano, raised in Kano, so I'm just like a guest in Jibia. It's just the name that saved me. And secondly, how can I feel safe while I know what he is capable of? What if something just flipped? What if something changed? And he was telling me that he fulfilled all the agreements from his own part. He said he has fulfilled all. It is only one agreement that he didn't fulfill, and that is surrendering his weapon. And he said he can't surrender his weapon because of the neighboring bandit group. But he said he has done all that the Jibia Peace Forum asked him to do. But in his own end, his own side of the agreement was not fulfilled. He demanded schools, hospitals, water, and all.
Wait, Rukaya, sorry.
Yeah.
We're very confused.
Definitely.
Who is demanding for schools, for water? Who is demanding for these basic amenities that were supposed to have been provided by the government?
The celebrity terrorist, Mazino.
Who again?
Yeah, the celebrity terrorist. He said he wants their children to go to school also. He said he wants Fulani children to go to school. So he said he needs hospitals for treatment. He said they need fresh water, drinking water for their cows.
Come on.
Which...
He's become a hero.
Exactly.
The government didn't fulfill any of that.
So when you say
they didn't do any of that.
So when you say the government didn't fulfill that, is he communicating directly with the government or the Peace Forum, which I was going to come back and ask about?
He is communicating with the Katsina, with the GPA Security Forum, Peace Forum, and then the GPA Peace Forum will now tell his demands to the chairman.
Okay.
And maybe the chairman to the governor, you know.
Now, thank you very much. Now we see that relationship. Now we see exactly how it's going. It's a very informal situation becoming something formal, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. I think I even lost my question, because the question I was going to ask Rukia was negotiation or negotiating with terrorists, but or bandits, so whatever it is that you want to classify them as. But at this point, I don't even see a need for us to question the negotiation, because at the end of the day, Mazino, when you look at it, the negotiation was for the people. It was for the people. But my question, Rukia, is, okay, he's negotiating with the forum. The government, I mean, you just said it in your package that you found where they were. You went there. There were a massive number of bandits that were there holding rifles, I want to believe.
No government presence.
If it was so easy for you to find, and the government understands that this is the problem, yes, he may be a man of the people, so to speak, but from a government and a security standpoint, he is a threat to people because of what you said. There are things that he has done. What is the government doing about this?
Nothing.
Can you give me an understanding why you think the government is not doing anything? Is it a fear thing? Because, I mean, for the negotiation to take place anyway is a bit concerning. Why is it that the government is not doing anything? The whereabouts are known. Every other thing is quite clear. Why is the government not coming in?
If you ask me, I can say all this is a charade. Because I think Audu is not negotiating with Katsina, with GBA Peace Forum. I think he's negotiating directly with the government.
Why do you think that?
That is it. And I think the government are not I think the government are not sincere in their words when they said they are not negotiating with terrorists, blah, blah, blah. No. I believe they are in the center of this negotiation because they couldn't protect the people.
Mm-hmm.
And they were not sure whether this peace, this fragile peace will hold or will continue. So that is why they are hiding behind the community and saying that this peace is struck with the community, not with the government. But if you ask me, I think the government are in the center of all of this.
How could that be, Rukaya? Because the government, the Senate itself, has said that they have discontinued any sort of consideration when it comes to negotiating with bandits. Could this be why they're just letting things be? If that's the reason, what other alternate conditions are they presenting to the community? If you say there's no governance there at all, if there are 1,000 bandits and there's no one single representation of any government institution, then I'm very worried what kind of, is this place even still in Nigeria? Geographically, where is Jibia?
Jibia is the border between Nigeria and Niger.
There we go. Now that gives us even better idea of what's happening here. So we've had no strong reaction from the government. The community seems to be very comfortable. Now let's talk about the negotiation terms he had with whoever, because at this point we don't know if it's the government or if it's the peace forum there in the state. Now they said to him that he has to relinquish his weapons, and he says that he cannot because that's what he uses to defend himself against the other bandit. What's the relationship between the community and the opposing bandits?
Before they struck the deal with Audu, all those bandit leaders or all the bandit group can come in freely to Jibia to operate.
When you say
Jibia
operate,
was not safe last year.
How do they operate? You mean they go about destroying, killing?
I'm telling you, they go about, Jibia is known for, business.
Okay.
Yes, Jibia is known for different kinds of business, food stuff and all.
All right.
But during this insecurity,
Rukaya, sorry.
the neighbor...
Rukaya, sorry.
Okay.
I want to get the details straight. When the bandits come in to pillage, what exactly are they coming in to pillage? Are they kidnapping people or are they stealing from people? They
kidnap, they kill, they steal. In fact, they burn people. The last time I was in Jibia, they burned a car. I think like 12, 13 people were killed instantly.
And the reason they do this is to ask for dues from the community, to ask for ransom for the people that have been kidnapped?
Of course.
Okay, now that's getting clearer itself. Thank you very much. I don't know. I think I'm done with I fully understand now the situation, so I have no other questions. Inam, you might have one or two.
I do not.
you do
I do not. You know what came to my mind? There's that saying that says the violent take it by force. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that's what it looks like he is doing. We have a problem. I think the question that I was going to ask is, do they even regard themselves as Nigerians, especially because they're on the border? I don't know. That might be a very delicate question to ask.
Of course they do.
So, I mean, you look at it, Mazino, we are unfortunately in a country where a lot of things are not working, from security, from education to so many things. Last week we had a report by Sumaya as well, where schools were dilapidating to the core. And unfortunately, you find yourself in a situation where people have made the conscious decision to say, we will take it by force. And it's an unfortunate thing.
Lost for words, I see. I know. What solutions seem in the horizon, Rukaya?
I don't think of any solution because the governments are not willing to do what they are supposed to do. And if the government are not willing to do what they are supposed to do, then we're going to have lots of Audu. I just hope maybe we'll have someone just like him, not the opposite of him, like what happened in Gangara. There was a peace, not even only in Kankara, most of the communities where peace agreement was made with the bandits in Katsina, the peace treaty failed because they are still killing people. They accepted the peace, but they are still stealing, they are still killing people, they are still kidnapping people. So I think GBS one is even one of the best, or let me say the best among the best. So if the government are not willing to do what they are supposed to do, like you said, Mazino, they know where these people are. They just won't take any action. Because if I can reach the bandits, then why won't the government reach the bandits?
Thank you.
You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, I'm telling you, if to say it's someone, maybe if they are looking for me, maybe in 10 minutes, if I'm not even in Katsina, you might just see their cars, maybe tracking their phone, tracking me, tracking my phone and all. They will know where I am, but they don't know where these bandits are. I'm not buying that. They know where they are just not willing to take action.
The unfortunate thing about this is that, Rukaya and Mazino, is the man probably has children, the man probably has family members, and the reality is that even if he had actually died, anybody who was a follower of his has seen that in order for us to be heard, this is what we need to do. So it puts a question in my mind and in my heart that says, will we ever really, really, really tackle banditry in Nigeria? Because if something like this is happening, it's a repetitive cycle.
It's an institution
exactly.
in itself.
It's going to multiply. And I think for me, this gives us a proper understanding that peace in Nigeria or anywhere else is not just the absence of gunfire. It is the presence of protection. It is the presence of systems and institutions that want to listen to the people, not just negotiate, but partner with them, because it's like a ransom thing. My demands are give us education, give us healthcare, and then everything else will cease. It's unfortunate because the things that they are asking for are things that, according to Constitution, Nigerians have a right to.
Rukaya, we have nothing else to say but thank you. And wow, what courage. I think you should call up management and ask for a raise. Thank you very much, Rukaya.
Thank you, Adino, but I think we are going to meet out with you.
No,
Take him with you. He likes to use a bike, Rukaya.
No.
Mazino will bike to strange places in Nigeria. Take him with you.
No,
Take him with you with that bike.
They need me here on Saturday.
I think I'm inviting you.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed. What a report there, what a conversation. We're still left confused. Normally we'd have a solution at the end, or at least a suggestion, but this time I think the reality speaks for itself. Let's take a break. We'll be back. It's still Breakfast Extra. Welcome again. Just before the end of our first hour here, Breakfast Extra. Let's do sports. The 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations marks a turning point for women's football on the continent. Now, with increased media attention and also stronger sponsorship interest and growing global relevance, WAFCON is moving from the margins to the center of African sports. For Nigeria, those Super Falcons have long dominated the tournament. Expectations are high for them, more than ever. But this moment is about more than just medals. It's raising questions about preparation, player welfare, infrastructure, and also long-term commitment to the women's games. Success at WAFCON 2026 will depend not only on talent, but on whether institutions are ready to support excellence consistently.
Joining us now to unpack this is Udoka Njoku, sports correspondent with News Central TV. Udoka, can you just give me a bit of an understanding of how different it is to build up the WAFCON 2026 compared to previous editions in terms of preparedness and all other things in between?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Of course, for the women's tournament, the same way it goes for the men. Of course, we just know that more attention is being paid to men's football. We saw that last year at the WAFCON, which happened in Morocco, and then the Africa Cup of Nations for men also happened at the same venue in Morocco. But we need to pay more attention to the women because a lot of Nigerians feel like women's football, especially for the Super Falcons, they've won more medals, more titles than the men, but they don't get treated as much as we get to treat the way we get to treat the male football tournament. So more attention needs to be given to the women. Of course, it's almost the same type of preparations that we give. Training camps opened, a bit of friendly games played ahead of these tournaments. And when the tournaments get to start proper, we get to see proper football from the women. But like we always say, more attention needs to be given to the Super Falcons of Nigeria.
If only the authorities knew, they'll come to you for lessons on taking or paying attention to the women. However, let's talk about the level of competitiveness when it comes to the women's games as against the their male counterparts. How much attention do the Nigerian authorities actually give to the female games? Is there better preparation? Is there better attention? What gives? What do we have?
Yeah, so they've promised, like the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, he promised during the AFCON, he promised to give more attention, and he had said that preparations have started early as when we were in Morocco. That was in December, January, that they started preparing for the women's games, from the hotels that they stay in to the training pitches and the kind of friendly games that they get to feature in as well. But the level of preparations, to be very honest with you, it cannot be compared to what we see with the men. A lot of journalists also complain about this same thing, that women's football needs to be given more attention, especially quality friendly games, and most especially the type of the money they get in terms of their training fees, appearance fees, and of course tournament fees as well. They need to be improved upon, and the grade A hotels that they get to stay wherever they go to should be top-notch for the players as well.
Yeah, I also wanted to talk about the level of attention that the sports gets on media. Does it get as much as the male games? I'm asking this for economic reasons, the commerce that comes from merchandising or advertising. Does it get that much attention? Or are we going to see anything different from 2026 WAFCON?
Well, not exactly different, because the attention you get is most especially from journalists, TV stations, radio stations, content creators all over the place trying to speak about the games. As long as the games are on and Super Falcons are in action, it will be talked about all over the corners of journalism. So it gets the same attention that it gets. But on the football pitch, do we have the same number of fans turn up for these games? I would say the big answer is no. More fans turn up for men's football than women's football, and we need to improve upon all of this. But when it comes to media attention and online attention, the female football action gets as much attention as it gets, because a lot of content creators need their content out there. Journalists from TV and radio also need their stories out there. So if they don't attend tournaments like this, they can't get the stories out. So the attention gets almost the same for both male and female. It's just the fans who don't turn up as much for the women's football games.
Udoka, Inam, I think we're missing a point here. As a country, I think we're missing a point when it comes to how we can actually take advantage of the attention that the women's games are getting, even the men's games. Because if we're not paying attention, the fact is this: there's a lot that's going by us. If only content creators and journalists are interested in the games, the government doesn't know that there's plenty to actually gain from putting more into these games. Yeah. You've got the eyes of the world on it. You can use this to PR Nigeria's image out there. Why don't they see this? If we want to take it outside of Nigeria and into, let's not go far, South Africa. When I hear the Springboks, for instance, Inam, I know what they are. I know how big a deal they are. There's even an entire movie about them. But we don't see that kind of thing in Nigeria. I don't know, Inam, do you think that we're losing something, not giving this all the attention we need to?
I mean, to a certain degree, yes. But also, I wouldn't necessarily fault the government completely, because for those things to take place, there have to be certain agreements. I think the government, especially the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, if that's what you call it, has the responsibility to do that, go out and seek the necessary partnerships, that are needed in order for this thing or these partnerships to be done. In terms of film and all of that, I mean, Nigeria's got Nollywood. I'm surprised that by now no film has been done.
We don't have a sports movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know. Maybe that's not what sells in Nigeria, because Achologu is everywhere. But I think the partnerships need to. The partnerships need to be institutionalized. But I think maybe for now they haven't necessarily seen where and how that can be penetrated. From a movie standpoint, Udoka, you will come in and let me know on that. I know that at one point Amazon was very interested in Nigeria. But at a later stage, they eventually pulled out. And I think these are things that we need to explore a little bit better in order for us to capitalize on the success of the Super Eagles, the Super Falcons, whatever the likes may be from a sports standpoint.
Right. It's good you mentioned this, because a couple of days ago, we heard a story about the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that we should pump in money, more money into sports to improve on sport infrastructure and development in the country. And it's a good way to start to improve on our sports and development in the country, from grassroots up to the senior level. And talking about film, we've seen a couple of movies being done, most especially for the 1996 Eagles, who won the Atlanta gold in Atlanta 96. So it's been an interesting ride for movie makers so far. Private sectors have also been supporting sports in the country. Take it, for example, when the Super Eagles are going to any tournament, we see brands sponsoring the Super Eagles. Some of the airlines will sponsor the Super Eagles. And that's why a lot of journalists cry that the Super Eagles do not get to qualify for major tournaments, most especially the World Cup, we will lose a lot of money for not qualifying for the tournaments like this one, because if you do qualify for tournaments, it also helps in economic boosting because of what it brings into the economy as well.
I'm interested to know, I think while you were speaking, a thought actually just crossed my mind, especially with what Mazino said about the Springboks. If you look at the Springboks and you look at the captain, I think one of the reasons why Springboks got to, I don't want to use the word shine, but it became the epitome of togetherness, brotherhood, and all of that was when Siabonga Kolisi became the captain, and he was the first black captain. And I think that really erupted what we call the Rainbow Nation.
That's advocacy in sports.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm curious to find out that could it be that one of the reasons why sometimes there is this delay and maybe there isn't that spotlighting on some of the team members in Nigeria is because many team members or players in Nigeria for the Nigerian team don't actually live in Nigeria.
Not exactly, right? Because, I mean, you can actually point out a couple of legends that we've had in the country, like of J.J. Okocha, Nwankwo Kanu, the late Rashidi Yekini, the late Sam Okwaraji, the late Stephen Keshi, and currently we have Victor Osimhen. Whichever tournament the Super Eagles get to play in, and no matter how many goals we score, if Victor Osimhen doesn't score, once the camera pans to Victor Osimhen, everybody starts screaming, Osimhen, Osimhen, Osimhen. But do we build on these legacies? We do not know how to build on them. Because, for example, like you rightly mentioned, Siya Kolisi over there in South Africa, he's a legend. He's a well-known face over there, not just in rugby, but in sports in general. So it's something we need to start to work on. If you have legends like Victor Osimhen, I call him a legend because that's the level he has placed himself upon. Let's take away negativity from our sports. If we bring in the whole positive nature and angles to our sports and include all of these legends in our playlist, I'll use playlists for a fact. The likes of J.J. Okocha, Victor Osimhen, Alex Iwobi. Use these players to spotlight the nation, not just football. There's also Asisa Toshola in female football as well. We need to start building on what we have to ensure that our sports get the spotlights that it does deserve.
Building, you said building. Let's talk about infrastructure. Former NFF President Amaju Pinnick said that we are having our Warri Stadium revamped and very soon we'll be able to have international sports in Nigeria by Moroccan contractors, by the way, since every time we're always going to Morocco because their facility seems top-notch. Okay, so don't us, Inam. So he says that they're putting together world-class infrastructure in Warri. How far that? What's happening there? How does that play into our development when it comes to sports?
Mazino, look, when we talk, I really do not like to touch on infrastructure because in Pidgin, waiting my eyes see from Morocco, my mouth not to talk.
I'm getting to that. I have a question.
Let's talk about that. You just came back from Morocco. What did you see?
In terms of stadia, I'll say the worst stadium in Morocco, which was Fez, in terms of quality, which is not even worse at all.
The least.
The least stadium in Morocco was in Fez. It's better than everything we have in Nigeria. I stand to be corrected. We keep claiming we have Uyo Stadium, the Nest of Champions, which is supposed to be the best that we have. CAF approved. That's the only CAF approved stadium that we have. In Nigeria, it is not even up to standard of what we have in Fez, Marrakesh, Rabat, and Casablanca. And we talk about world-class facilities. We are nowhere near world-class. We are nowhere near class. We only have a facility where these players can train. If we indeed have a world-class facility, we have training pitches, we have media centers, we have a lot of sports facilities, different sports that we can actually engage in this so-called infrastructure that we are trying to build in the country. We need to do better. Yes, Pinnick did say that when we were in Morocco, saying that he's trying to invest more in sports in Nigeria to ensure that we have facilities like this. But my brother, even in 20 years, I don't think we can achieve anywhere near what Morocco has achieved in sports infrastructure.
Udoka, don't say that.
Well, it's what it is.
I have a question for you now. I want us to talk about the morale of having the Nigerian team heading back to Morocco. There was a lot of controversy around the men's tournament. We saw a few videos of Nwabali also flashing a few people because of the towel incident and stuff. What does the morale and the excitement look like going to Morocco, especially, with the atmosphere and attitude and, behaviors that were captured visually for all of us to see?
It's all love. I mean, the Moroccans love Nigeria. If the tournament does hold in Morocco, because we're hearing rumors that South Africa might host the tournament, and there are also information from CAF saying there's been a bit of leak of information about who the tournament host will be, whether Morocco or South Africa. If you go back to Morocco, I'm sure it will be all love for Nigeria, because they do love Nigerian football over there. So I don't think anything will happen to the Nigerian national team, talking about the Super Falcons. And the Moroccans will indeed support Nigeria as they did support the Super Eagles December, January during the AFCON.
Indeed they did, or did they? But we want to say thank you very much, Doka. Whether it's Morocco, if we have leaked information about it being South Africa, one thing is for sure, we were expecting you were going to come back from Morocco with a bride, but you didn't. Are you considering changing your mind? Maybe now it might be South African? Because if it is, we do have one here.
Oh, goodness me.
And how many cows are we talking about now?
I don't know. We'll have to ask her mother.
She's on stand. Well, she's not on standby, but I mean, anyway, I don't even think it's going to be. If we head down to South Africa, Udoka is closer to Tanzania. It's literally a drive to Tanzania. That's our sister there. Might be waiting for you.
She's suggesting for you. You get it.
I see what you did there, but I'm turning up with cows, though.
Cows are it.
Cows it is. I told you, we take the big ones, not these ones, right?
The heavy ones. Thank you very much, Udoka, for joining us for sports, although it trailed into something else there at the end. But do stay tuned. We've got the news coming up top of the hour. And you're welcome. Now another, big report. Cancer remains a major public health challenge in Nigeria, not only because of rising cases, but because many patients are diagnosed too late. Now, experts say late presentation, limited awareness, and also weak screening systems are driving avoidable deaths. World Cancer Day 2026 places emphasis on prevention. It also places emphasis on lifestyle choices and early detection. The message is clear: many cancers can be managed or even prevented when caught early, but only if people know what to look for and where to go. We had a small package put together for World Cancer Day here at News Central. Let's take a look at that before we introduce our guest who will be speaking to us on the issue.
Until the signs become impossible to ignore. World Cancer Day, observed every 4th of February, draws global attention to a disease that continues to claim millions of lives, many from cancers that are preventable or treatable when detected early. In Nigeria, the reality is even more troubling. Late diagnosis, fear, stigma, and the high cost of treatment mean many patients seek medical help only after the disease has progressed. Breast, cervical, and prostate cancers remain among the most common and deadliest, leaving families devastated and communities in mourning.
Some people say, is it a death sentence? But the good thing is that some cancers can be curable or even prevented if they present on time. Okay, I know it's not easy. Cancer management can really be a bit heavy on the patients. I mean, it has to do with a lot of grief, pain, resilience, and hope. We should individualize these patients' cares. We should individualize their treatment, their problems, and make ourselves available to help them.
Yet, behind every diagnosis are stories of courage, resilience, and survival. Stories that challenge the belief that cancer is always a death sentence.
Mom Josephine asked me to be attending the meeting. Through that meeting, I came to the knowledge of cancer. Since then, I've been, preventing my skin. The experience is very, very bad. Some severe pains. At times, I won't be able to sleep. I will not be able to sleep. When that chemotherapy is done initially, maybe some few minutes, you start paining, you swell up. The thing will swell up. You bring out series of color. You can see now there's nothing there now. The chemotherapy have, clear everything. The one at the back, it got to some weeks or months before it can be healed with treatment, with drugs and injection.
Health experts say fear and silence remain some of cancer's deadliest weapons. They stress that regular screening, open conversations, and community support can significantly improve survival rates.
The cancer diagnosis is not a death sentence. If you catch it early, you can cure. If we have the screening culture, it will go a long way in the treatment outcome. Then our mindset, there is no excuse for ignorance. We should all go out there, be our brother's keeper. You see people in this condition, or you've gone through this treatment and you saw that your treatment was successful, and you see somebody else in this kind of situation, encourage them and push them out. So by working on the modifiable risk factors that we have power over, we will have a better chance of preventing these cancers.
As the world marks World Cancer Day, the message is clear. Replace fear with knowledge, silence with action, and stigma with support. Because in the fight against cancer, awareness can mean survival, and early action can mean life. In Lagos, for News Central, Emmanuel Olubobokun.
Now we're joined by Dr. Babatunde James. He's a molecular biologist. Dr. James, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, first off, to celebrate World Cancer Day and also to sensitize us on what we must know. We've got plenty of questions. Inam will start.
My first question. What cancers are most common in Nigeria, and what factors are driving their prevalence?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. So first and foremost, we have prostate cancer leading for men. We have colorectal. We have liver. We have non-Hodgkin lymphoma. We have Kaposi sarcoma and others. Then for women, we have breast cancer. We have cervical cancer. We have colorectal, non-Hodgkin, and ovarian cancer. So the challenge with cancer is that the numbers are going up, and we call this kind of disease non-communicable disease, and it has no respect for demography, meaning no respect for whether you are rich, whether you're poor, because most of the factors we are exposed to are almost the same or generalized, and the factors mainly. Like I always tell people that cancer is majorly a genetic problem, meaning that it has to do with the DNA. Sometimes it could be inherited. Once it's inherited, it is a big problem. Then most times it is acquired, majorly from environmental issues such as chemicals, such as radiations, smoking, diet, alcohol, then more importantly, infections. So these are the common issues that, affect or that may lead to, causing cancers. And these are things that are part of our lifestyles, and they are really, really difficult to run away from.
Dr. James, you said that this could be inherited or this could be habit, it could be environmental, but you also said that the numbers are going up. Is this in Nigeria only, or is this a worldwide challenge?
So it is a worldwide challenge because, so why I said it's a genetic problem is that, so the word cancer, actually came from a Greek doctor in 4060 BC. And he used the word carcino or carcinoma to describe a tumor, like a moving crab, like what you're showing on your screen. And what it does means is that you have uncontrolled division of abnormal cells. And what do we mean by that is that you have cells that are abnormal, that are growing uncontrollably. And I like to use the example of miscreants to explain the way cancers, the way they grow. So imagine you have a bus stop where you have some set of miscreants who are not specialized. They don't have jobs that they do, and they keep growing. What do you think would happen? if you can curtail them at that bus stop and remove them, you can stop it. And at that point, you can call them a tumor, they grow within that bus stop. But once they begin to spread to another bus stop, many times when we hear that they go to another bus stop to fight and they conquer that bus stop and they establish another kingdom in that bus stop and they grow, that we call metastasis. That means they've grown to another place and that becomes cancerous. That is a cancer. And with that, they begin to expand the mayhem. And what do they do in the society? They cause dysfunctionality, right? They block the roads, they cause traffic, sometimes they harbor more criminals. And exactly what happens when normal cells grow uncontrollably. So this problem then is now a problem that occurs in the DNA. And this problem is something that the DNA usually is designed in such a way that it carries our genetic information. And this genetic information tells us exactly who we are, how we should grow, and when a cell grows to a certain extent, the cell should die or the cell should specialize. And all of those functions are tightly regulated. So when these regulatory functions are being disrupted, and they cannot be controlled anymore, the cells just begin to grow. They don't specialize.
Well,
and
Dr.
when they
James,
don't specialize,
Dr. James, one more thing is whether with everything that you've just described here happening anatomically, do the Nigerian conditions make this an even bigger challenge? Are we positioned with challenges that make it a bigger issue for Nigerians? Our environment, does it add to our cancer prevalence? Our habits, does it add to our cancer prevalence? Our DNA as Nigerians, are we more exposed to cancer instances as Nigerians?
So cancer is a global challenge. It's a multi-dimensional challenge. So it's not a localized problem. So, we've been here for millions of years. Evolution has been taking place. Our DNA is constantly bombarded each time we eat, by what people call oxidants. And, many times we take more oxidants, the chemicals we eat, the unprocessed foods, the gases we released into the atmosphere, the pollutants we released, the adducts, from smokes that affect the DNA that cannot be repaired. And all of those problems, they get accumulated. The rays, the radiations that we get exposed to. So it's a global problem. It's not just a Nigerian problem.
All right, then.
So what makes it a societal issue is how we tackle it, how we educate our citizens, how we sensitize, sensitize the public, how we improve on our healthcare systems, how we let people know what is right and what is wrong. Because I've seen many people, they tell me, I can use some leaves to, just to rub the point of the tumor and it's just going to dry up. That's a big lie, because the best option is to see your physician, your doctor, and go to a proper healthcare facility, get tested, get screened, get managed, and it's something that can be properly managed if it's detected. And thank you.
Doctor, if I may, I want us to look at the screenings that Nigerians should prioritize. But to piggyback on top of the screening, I know that some time ago I did do a bit of research, and going back to the genes that you spoke about, as a woman, I was informed about a gene. I think they call it the Braga gene, right? I'm curious to find out, because I know some women have wanted to prevent, and others would be advised to do, I think it's called a double mastectomy or something along the lines of that. My question is, with regards to screening, what screenings should Nigerians prioritize? And then as a female, when we're looking at the Braga gene and the mastectomies and stuff, are those things that are able to be done in Nigeria?
So there are even some very more simpler screening tests. So you can do what we call prognostic biomarkers test that can check blood biomarkers for some possible cancers. that move. There are some biomarkers that circulate in the blood. For women, you can do physical examination, or maybe at 40 they can go for a mammogram, and you can check online for places where you can go for a proper mammogram and check for that. Then for the gene, so we have the BRCA1, we have the BRCA2 genes. So these genes are supposed to be like the guardian of the genome. So the genome is like the total genetic makeup of every human. And interestingly, this BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes are found in both male and females, interestingly. And when there are mutations in these genes, right, and each time the DNA is being disrupted, the cell will not be able to repair the genome any longer. And once the cell cannot repair the genome, when there are disruptions, and hence the cells will begin to grow abnormally. And so it's always advised that it's good to do for those who have family histories of breast cancer, majorly. So they usually recommend that you run a BRCA1, BRCA2, especially for women, because there had been scientific link between BRCA1 and BRCA2. For breast cancer. So that's why they recommend it for women. So you can do BRCA1, BRCA2 genetic testing, and you can do prophylaxis, just do kind of preventive mastectomy, just to like Angelina Jolie did. So all of this can be done in Nigeria. They're done in Nigeria, and it's just for you to find, the healthcare facilities where they can be done. So it's not a big deal to have them done in Nigeria. However, there are lots easier tests or cheaper tests that can be done. Infectious diseases such as hepatitis B, that can, when it's left untreated or left unmanaged, can lead to liver cancer. HPV, high-risk HPV can lead to cervical cancer, which the numbers are really high amongst women. Even H. pylori now is beginning to get linked to some form of gastrointestinal cancers, which is becoming a big problem. We have the kissing bug, Epstein-Barr virus, which is beginning to get
Did you say
linked.
kissing?
Yeah.
Kissing bug.
What is
Epstein-Barr.
Like kissing?
Kissing bug.
Through the
Kissing
lips?
bug, Epstein-Barr virus, yes.
Oh, wow.
Could you give us some more details about that? Inam seems to be very interested in that.
So it is a virus that is also implicated in some form of cancers, and some of these tests can be done, and it's commonly transmitted, via simply kissing. So that's why we call
Sorry,
it,
doctor, if I may interject, I'm so sorry. I think it's a very informative and insightful conversation. It is transmitted through kissing. Is that what you said?
Yep.
And I'm asking this because I'm hearing it for the first time that a cancer can be transmitted.
No, it's not the cancer. It is the
Oh,
virus.
it's the bug. Okay.
Yes, and that's why we call it Epstein-Barr virus.
So which means transmitted and then it develops into a cancer.
It may develop into a cancer because most times our immune systems can help fight against these bugs, right? So it's not all the time that we get infected and it automatically leads to cancer.
Okay.
But in cases where we are immunocompromised, and like I said, and there is a severe DNA damage and the cells begin to grow uncontrollably, and we cannot take out all those bad cells, and they keep staying there and keep growing, and that's when it becomes a problem. So I was just saying that there are some of these basic infectious disease tests that can be done that can also help us, right? Okay. So I was just mentioning HPV, human papilloma virus, which is very necessary, and the government has placed a lot of emphasis on that for young girls. From 19, and they've started giving vaccines, and they recommend vaccines for that, because the high-risk viruses, can lead to cervical cancer. I was talking about Epstein-Barr virus, hepatitis B virus, and I just mentioned H. pylori, the one that we usually implicate in ulcers, and which has now been implicated in some gastrointestinal cancers. Then I also mentioned about some other prognostic biomarkers that one can do, aside from genetic tests that can also be done, just as screening tests. So we always advise our clients, or some of our clients, that just try to do a screening test once in a year.
Okay.
Just to be sure that you're free, just once in a year. That's not too much for anyone to do. Thank you.
Doctor, so we're free to do these tests, but how free are these tests? How affordable are they?
So, to be honest, they're very affordable compared to the cost of one's life. That's what I tell
when you
my friends.
when you doctors say that, it's such a diplomatic way to say, would you rather have, this to that? But give us an idea, just so we know and we're prepared. Not to scare anyone, but just to inform them of how easy it is to get these tests done.
So some tests could be as cheap as 10,000 naira. Some tests are even done for free at some screening programs, right? But the truth is, healthcare is expensive all over the world. Healthcare is not cheap, because we have to tell ourselves the truth, because it requires some level of input to have those products, out. And yes, the government is putting in a lot of efforts, and private sector is also putting in a lot of efforts, but you can never put enough in terms of what is required for healthcare. And you know why? Because all the challenges we put in is more than all the problems we put into healthcare. It's more than all the solutions we are contributing. And that's why it's becoming, because new technologies are coming out every day. And it takes a lot of money to get those new technologies. It takes a lot of money to get those new diagnostic tests. And that's why we keep saying healthcare is not cheap. And we have to keep investing in healthcare. And
I have a very
I guess that's the norm.
I'm sorry, Inam, but I have a very implicative statement to say here when it comes to healthcare in Nigeria. Could it be that of the 127,000 new cases that we get that present late, because Nigerians always are still presenting late despite the efforts that are being put, could it be that it's the cost that's causing Nigerians to run away from early screenings? I'm wondering, because Nigerians, if it's too expensive, then Jesus take the wheel. Could this be the reason for this challenge?
Thank you for that very, very important question. I honestly don't think it's because of the cost. I think we need more sensitization. I think it's a belief system. Most Nigerians believe that what you don't know will not kill you, right? And it's like that almost everywhere in the world. A lot of people believe what you don't know won't kill you. So it's not all about the cost. A lot of Nigerians can afford it. So people feel that because some of this cost is not up to what people spend, weekends, what people even spend, enjoying themselves, buying, at beer parlors, just so for me, I don't think the problem is the cost. People just feel, people feel that cancer has to be a big problem. The person has to be, vomiting blood. The person has to be, something looking very terrible before they know that there is a problem. But
Doctor,
the truth is that, yes, ma'am.
So I'm so sorry to just interject there. I wanted Mazino to land because I still wanted to actually build up on what Mazino has asked you. And I get your answer. But the question that I have for you is, outside of it being, quote and unquote, affordable, because, according to pocket size, everybody has the right to determine whether I can afford this thing or not. I want us to look at the health sector again and look at the competencies of our medical departments in Nigeria. And I say this by experience that in terms of the detections being late, could it be that it's not always so much the fact that an individual goes to the hospital late? I'll make an example. Namazino knows I am from South Africa, but I've come to find a situation or an instance where if you go to a health facility in Nigeria, there tends to be 3 common denominators that they will diagnose you with for a long time before they get to the root cause of what is bothering you.
Oh.
Very simple. It's either you have an ulcer, it's either you have got malaria, or you have got typhoid. This is by experience. There are days where I'll have a headache and they'll give me anti-malaria drugs. Could it be that many a times when a person comes into a facility exhibiting specific symptoms, they send you away because generally for them, this is the first 3. And then when your symptoms escalate, that is when they want to rule out other things.
Misdiagnosis.
Thank you.
Well, that's a very beautiful question, and that's a big problem happening everywhere. So it's not an issue of competence. Of course, technology plays an important role in diagnosis, and you can't tell what you don't see, right? So if you come to me as a doctor, I wouldn't tell you what I can't see, but most times doctors will have to treat the clinical symptoms that they see. And that will be the empirical way, that approach that they have to take most times. So it's not an issue of competence at this point. And like I said earlier, I said that healthcare is expensive because there are newer technologies coming up every day. So the level of technology that you do have in South Africa that, you know, we wish to have in Nigeria, how much of the investment have we put in place?
That's a good
to
question.
have those level of technology here, you know, to be able to compare the level of diagnosis that we would like to get. And secondly, these are some of the diseases that doctors usually treat patients for here are usually the most prevalent cases or most prevalent diseases that they see, that they know occurring around. And that is why they start with that. So,
but could that then, sorry to cut you, could that then not be one of the reasons why people don't go back to the hospital? Because if you are going back concurrently for the same issue, which they have diagnosed as ulcer, eventually a person is going to be like, I'm going to go back there and they keep telling me it's ulcer, so why go back? You've had situations where you go to an institution and they tell you that, Madam, we said this thing is ulcer. And then once it gets to a place where there is a point of no return, that's when they will bill you for something that could have been prevented earlier, because if the right kind of tests had been done, they would have caught this thing earlier on. So could it be that sometimes, like Mazino said, we've had instances where people don't go to the hospital and they put it on our Lord Jesus Christ to amend the situation, because every time you go to science sends you back with chronic medication that does not necessarily alleviate the situation. I say this because really and truly it is a problem. There are people that are sitting with, I don't even know the medication anymore, but they are sitting with chronic medication to remedy an ulcer. And when you come and find the situation later, they don't have an ulcer. And really, Eya and sorry does not really put people out of their misery. So how do we remedy that in such a way that if a person comes to you 3 times, 4 times with the same problem, doctors and nurses put it on them to want to delve deeper into the situation without, and I say this lightly, without putting into consideration the money? Because the other problem that we have in Nigerian medical healthcare is if you don't give me the money first, I'm not going to prioritize your health. These are situations and instances that we need to talk to and find a way to partner with the government on, because unfortunately we're going to have a situation where the cancer ratings are rising because I go to a hospital, I'm not feeling well. Even before you generally assess me, I need to put money on the table. The reality is healthcare is not life first in Nigeria. It is money first.
I doubt that that's a question at this point. That's advocacy from you. But I'm sure Dr. James, you understand what she's saying, and this is a prevalent thing in Nigeria. A simple reaction to that, because we have run out of time. Most of it was taken by Inam. But please, a reaction from you, Dr. James.
Apologies.
So thank you very much. I think this has caused a lot of reactions on social media, and so we need to understand the economics of healthcare as well. So many times, our type of healthcare system is out of pocket, and I think the health insurance type of healthcare system is just gaining sufficient grounds in this part of the world. And you would see that in other part of the world, that where they have effective, in quotes, effective healthcare system, and people complain of having several thousands of dollars of debts, owing. So it's not like hospitals want to prevail on taking money from patients, right? It's just that those hospitals or those healthcare facilities requires funding to survive.
Okay.
Then secondly, or lastly, for the diagnosis of ulcer, right? Well, I'm not a clinician, so it's difficult for me to dwell on that. But a doctor would probably give a presumptive diagnosis and will treat based on that. And if that is not working, what I always recommend or I always advise, please go back. Because many times people don't go back, right? People talk to persons who are not experts. And I had a case recently, right? Of someone who had an issue. He spoke with a friend who is not an expert. The expert has advised the person to leave the hospital. The doctors begged the person, please do not leave. The person said, leave. They left. And they left against medical advice. Later, the situation became worse.
Okay.
They brought the person back. And unfortunately, by the time the person came back, it was too late.
I bet it was too late already.
The person had to go.
Yeah.
So it's always good to go back on time, regardless of how we feel.
Doctor, we'll take your advice on that.
We'll get it right someday.
We will get it right someday. We'll take your advice on that one. Thank you very much. So it's good that you joined us to celebrate World Cancer Day and give these advice that you have given. We do hope that people take this advice. Early screening could actually help you prevent most of the issues that come from cancer. Awareness, screening, these actions make a difference. Thank you very much, Dr. James. It's about time we got Inam we're going to get Inam off of her soapbox now. And we've got one more conversation to go. Inam, promise us you're not going to get up on another soapbox.
I'll try. It's passion.
Yes, indeed.
It's passion. I'll try.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Mazino has told me to go home. So this time I'm going home, but I'm not going home alone. I'm bringing you a story. Where South Africa's Madlanga Commission of Inquiry was established to reinforce accountability and strengthen democratic oversight. Instead, it has sparked concerns among legal and civil rights groups who argue that it is reasoning, scope, and methods may undermine due processes. At the center of the debate is whether the inquiry itself respects constitutional principles. These concerns resonate beyond South Africa. Across the continent, commissions of inquiry are often powerful tools, but also potential instruments of overreach. When accountability mechanisms appear flawed, public trust erodes and democratic safeguards weaken.
So joining us are Njabulo Mwalwuli, technical surveillance. I think you should do this, Inam. Go ahead, if you do not mind.
Joining us to discuss this is Njabulo Mwalwuli, technical surveillance countermeasure practitioner, and Vangwere Tsotitsi, geopolitical analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining. My apologies, I'm Nigerian.
I think let's start with Vangwere. I'd want to greet you in Venda and teach Mazino something. Mazino, can you say Nda?
Nda.
Nda, what do you mean? Vangwere, what are the main legal and procedural criticisms being leveled against the Madlanga panel right now?
What is important to note there is that the commission, of course, it is seen as a very powerful tool. But then also its whole aim is for the politicians to try and win back the public trust of the country. Mm-hmm. So, and also this commission, they are established within the country that has its own law and constitution. So what we're seeing now is a lot of people who are supposed to be coming in, they're challenging the constitution using the very same, they're challenging the commission using the same laws and the constitution that protects everybody in South Africa. So I think the criticism are fair. And I also believe that Justice Madlanga also expects these things because they're dealing with a lot of sensitive things.
Njabulo, there are allegations involving figures such as Kat Matlala, who seem to have expensive or extensive knowledge of police and political crises or circles. What does this suggest about the depth of corruption within the system, and how does this influence ongoing investigations?
Well, thank you. We must remember that within the Commission of Madlanga, we have actually learned that Kat Matlala owned a security company, but the security company that he owned appears to have benefited from another municipality, which is Ekurhuleni, for being access to blue light, which they were not entitled to. But over and above that, we heard that the commission testimony from your General Khumalo and also General Nkwanas, that Kat is also identified as one of the key members, or one of the big five cartel members. Now, when you look at that information that we've received from the commission,
right,
it then actually gives us to actually understand that these allegations of corruptions appears to be a systematic network issues within South Africa. They're not really isolated. So Kat, you can see him as a person who is a conduit between the criminal world as well as the politician as well as business. So that's how then you understand that's a patronage of that's the ecosystem of patronage, like you've seen with the latest witness who happened to be his girlfriend.
Tetesi, I'm hoping that you are with us now. Let's confirm that you are connected to us. If you could say something, Tetesi. I think we've lost him. So I'm going to continue with you, Njabulo, if you do not mind. Now, Njabulo, for me as a Nigerian, looking at this from the inside out, or rather from the outside in, something that catches my concern is the fact that we have witnesses who are either murdered or have committed suicide. Only just a couple of days ago, we heard about one of the witnesses who committed suicide. This was not because there was a lack of trial when it came to him being assassinated. There had been efforts to do that. And here we have the fact that he committed suicide in front of his partner. And it seems to me like it was a certain lack of hope when it comes to witnesses or people who are implicated inside of this story. And I'm wondering how that implicates the justice system or the security architecture when it comes to witnesses in the Mahandlala case.
Yes. Thank you for that. But what we need to understand now is that because of the commission, we have people that are actually subpoenaed to come and assist the commission to get to the truth. You have your witnesses, people that we deem as witnesses in them. But then you also have people that have heavily been implicated. So then they realize that there's no way out for them. Then they will go to Madlanga Commission to use the pan to spill the bean. When we're spilling the beans, it's like they go on and confess to the things that they've done while implicating themselves. So in some instances where witnesses have actually taken their own lives, it is sometimes, it's a lot of stress. I know one person like Patricia Mashele, she goes through a lot. Like I can tell you what, today, she woke up, her dogs were poisoned.
Oh dear.
Can you imagine that? So now that you could see that could be a warning to them, to the witnesses that you know what, or whistleblower, that watch your step. We've also seen in the Senzo Miwa case where a prominent attorney, Ngomezulu, who reported to the court that I don't feel safe now. I feel like I'm being followed. There's a lot of things that happened. And all of a sudden, he also dies mysteriously.
So then what are the authorities doing about these deaths? If they note that this high-stake case is bringing about people's assassinations or murders, what security are they providing for whistleblowers?
Well, Well, in all fairness to the government, is that they will never provide something that is enough, because remember, this is an ecosystem. We've had witnesses who were under witness protection that were found dead 5 days later.
In witness protection?
Their bodies were taken. Yes, in witness protection, basically. So now you see that the safety of witnesses, basically, I think they just survive by the grace of God. I don't think that there is any security measures that can be put to protect them.
So the network of implication, this travels how far way up? Is it into the political system, the judicial system? Who exactly might be responsible for these deaths?
Well, we allow the investigations to uncover that. But we can safely say, based on the information that, for example, when we look at Witness D, that has testified the Madlanga Commission. So Witness D confessed to some criminal activities that he was a party to. But then he went on and implicated other people, which then now says that those people who were with him, they saw him now as a threat. So then they actually analyzed him. But when you see these people, it's not just random people, that it's a very highly skilled people that are doing these things. So for me, I don't call them as killings, I call them executions, because the way that they're done, it's a well-planned executions.
And Jabulo, it is a bit alarming, I will say that, and especially for someone like me who is what you call a born free. I think in our lifetime, we never thought that something of this magnitude would ever be brought forward to the table. But I'd like us to look at the statement that President Cyril Ramaphosa made. And in the statement he made, it said there that he authorized investigations into those implicated. However, names like suspended Minister of Police and Deputy Commissioner Sibiya are not included. My question to you is, what could be the reason for their absence? And what does this imply about our commission?
Well, our commission, we must understand that it's political. We must understand that our president is a politician as well. He needs to balance his political standing within his party, but then he also needs to respect the constitution of the country. So now you can only, I feel that the president, because ANC is also approaching the election year. Now, I feel that the president might be politically constrained, basically, or procedural cautious. Reason I'm saying that, because we must remember that General Sibiya has not yet testified in the Madlanga Commission, as well as Minister Mtoni has not yet testified. So I'm thinking that he doesn't want to make them a subject of investigation when they've not really testified, given evidence into the commission. So I'm of the view that at this point in time, for the phase one of the commission, I think it is fair that those two names are excluded.
All right. Vangwere, I'm not sure if you can hear me. If you can, please respond, because I do have a question for you.
I had a bit of network on my side.
Welcome.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear now. Vangwere, I wrote this down because it's an interesting one, but given the report of police involvement, because right now it is quite clear that police involvement is high, all the way up to Begitele and going all the way down. Now, given the involvement of police and, of course, the alleged corruption, especially in high-profile cases, not just this one, but in history as well, we've seen the repetition. What does this tell us about the state of law enforcement in South Africa? And, of course, are we seeing a pattern of police being complicit in criminal activities?
I mean, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with what you're saying. So I think what we're seeing what I call a commercialization of the badge, right? We're no longer dealing on rotten apples. The entire barrel is actually compromised. You know, I mean, I say this because, you know, the syndicate is it's no longer just bribing these officials. They've actually successfully hired them to be their private security. and also their intelligence assets. So now it really becomes a problem in that way, because now we're seeing South Africa moving from a very fragile democracy into a mafia state, right? And this on its own, it does, erode public trust. So now, as an ordinary South African, how do you then, have faith, in the very same people who are meant to protect you in your communities, in the streets? So it does definitely, erode public trust. And it's truly disheartening, what's happening within our police service. And also, I think it also raises questions about, South Africa is mostly reactionary in what we do. So now, I mean, as we know that, the whole Madlanga Commission was due to the allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner General Badlam Connors, right? So now, you ask yourself that, how many of such things are happening in other departments, that we don't know about, so it's really truly disheartening what we see, within our South African police service.
Bangawili, I have a question for you, and you spoke about public trust. The public do not trust the judicial system at this point, but then again, there's also another way to look at this. If you flip the coin around, with a lack of trust in the authorities, in the police system, then witnesses are not going to come forward. You will not have these testimonies, and that hurts the court process itself, because what you need, the people don't trust you enough. It's a catch-22 type of situation. How do you see this affecting the case in the long run?
No, absolutely. I mean, I was talking to a friend earlier on, and I was telling them that, the failure for the state to actually protect its witnesses, it's really disheartening, because now the message that's being sent out there is that, if you have evidence or if you have something to say, then do not come forward, because now chances are we are not going to be able to protect you. And, also another thing, what was truly disturbing was that the execution, as Njabula puts it, of witness D, Mr. Marius Vandermoor. I saw some reports saying that, it was suicide, but this is the person who was actually shot multiple times in front of his family in Brakpan. Surely that is not a methodology of suicide. That is a professional hit, So it does, make it very fragile that, if you're someone who has information, you will fear for your life, at what cost, that, you go forward and actually, provide information, knowing very well that, you're not going to be protected, And to be honest with you, I feel like, we should have an external, agency that is actually tasked with, protecting, our whistleblowers, because the way it is right now, I feel like, we are actually in full operational mode of the shadow state.
Vangwere, still on you. Goodness. Where does the nation go from here? Okay, yes, Mkhonazi brought up the allegations. I think it also is a bit alarming to say we don't necessarily know how long Mkhonazi had been in seat for him to uncover all of these things. So it's quite clear that this has, from the roots, it took root and then it began to grow and fester from there. Where does the country go from here, outside of the vote of no confidence? Because we've seen the corruption. We know what happened with the finance that was supposed to go to Tembisa Hospital and all the other areas that the government is supposed to assist with. Where does the country go from here? Can South Africa even recover from such a situation?
Like I said, it's not just we're not just dealing with rotten apple. Like I said, it's the whole barrel that is actually compromised. So it becomes very, very difficult, to think of where do we go from here as a country? Because now, are you meaning to tell me that the president of South Africa, the person who's in charge of intelligence, he didn't know everything that's happening within the police service? There's absolutely no way, So I think it's very difficult, and also as South Africans, an ordinary South African, as a young person living in South Africa, I truly have no hope on where do we go from here? I mean, looking at our police force and also looking at our justice system, So it really and I feel like, what's happening is that, we are seeing like a privatization of justice, where we see people in the streets, viewing the state, viewing the police as the enemy. And that is very dangerous because now, what the people in the streets will actually resort to, they will resort to the whole thing of mob justice, where they just take matters in their own hands because now there's no police. The police are actually, hired as private company, as a private security.
I mean, Vangwere, if I can actually just interject with what you said, in Africa, South Africa is notorious for that. Every now and again, when I try and tease Mazino, I tell them that South Africa is still better because the government still fears the people, But right now, it looks like there's a bit of change to that. Should there be a situation where the youth and the people want to take justice into their own hands? This is my last question for both of you gentlemen. In about 30 seconds, what does that say, or what will that do to the economy of South Africa?
Real quick.
Sorry, can you please repeat the question? So
I was saying that to piggyback on what you have just said about, our riots and all of that, South Africa is notorious for that. Everybody knows that if you try, this, South Africans are known to retaliate through riots, through strikes, through protests and the likes. Now, if the public that is watching are not satisfied with what is happening, and you see a situation in an instance where people go to the streets, what does this say about the economy of South Africa? What does this say, for us as a whole? Is this something that the government will try to prevent? Very quickly, please, for the both of you.
Okay. So, what's the issue is that I highly think that, there will be like any form of protest that is quite significant that will actually scare the state. And I say this because now in South Africa, especially amongst the youth, we lack social mobilization, if I can put it like that. And I say this is because now people are, categorized into different classes. We have people, who are actually, maybe well off, and we have people like the lower working class. So I think that the state has actually, learned this and realized that, yes, there might be protests and all that, but not to a point where, it will actually destabilize the economy and all that. I mean, for sure, in 2021, we had, I think, one of the most...
Vangwele, I'm so sorry, I have to cut you because we are out of time. And I'd like
no problem.
Njabulo to actually give his final entry before we go. My apologies, but Njabulo, we're out of time. If you can keep it very short. That final question that was asked by Inam.
South Africans, basically, they love their country as much as they are very disappointed about what is currently happening. Our economy still remains intact, but there is a loss in trust on the politician as it stands now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Njabulo. Thank you very much, Vangwele. And thank you very much, Inam, for the lessons before now on how to pronounce your names right. Unfortunately, I didn't pass that class. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Indeed, thank you for a great weekend, Inam, as well, because it's been fun. Do you want to do this again next week here on Breakfast Extra?
Yes.
Of course you'd say definitely.
I'll try and restrain the passion next week.
And thank you for being with us since yesterday morning at 8 a.m. We'll do this again from next week on Saturday, but join our Breakfast Central crew from tomorrow, Jonathan Olive, and of course, Benga Agborwa. Before the producers cut me off, goodbye.